Have you ever wondered, what if love wasn't bound by the heart? What if it came from somewhere far beyond the stars, from a place you couldn't even comprehend? Would you still be able to love someone or something that wasn't human, or would the vast distance of the cosmos tear your love apart? Imagine, one night, you receive a strange message, but not from a familiar face. It's from a place so distant, so alien, that it could have come from a whole new dimension. This isn't some random text from a friend, it's a cosmic call, a signal from somewhere other, and it will change everything. It all began like this. A whisper across the stars, a connection that transcends the known universe. I found myself standing at the edge of something I couldn't explain, and before I knew it, I was on the verge of falling into a love that defied all logic. This isn't your typical romance. This is a story that takes you across galaxies, through the cosmos, and straight into the heart of something that is more than just love. Between two worlds, two beings, could a love be born that would survive the cosmic storm? Could a human heart beat in sync with something that had never felt human pain, human love? Here, on Intergalactic Hearts, we dive deep into a journey of discovery, curiosity, and the uncharted territory of love. A love that starts with a human, and a being from the stars. But this story isn't just about love. It's about what happens when we step outside of everything we've known, and begin to see the universe for what it truly is. Full of mysteries, full of hearts that beat to different rhythms, but also full of connections that are undeniable. Stay with me, and keep watching, because what I'm about to share might just make you question everything you thought you knew about love. And trust me, you won't want to miss the ending. In the vastness of the cosmos, a new chapter was unfolding for Ava Kline. Her ship, the Nebula, was drifting silently through the forgotten void of space. Ava, a stunning woman from Earth, her long black hair cascading down her back, stood at the helm, her piercing eyes scanning the star-streaked sky. Her figure was mesmerizing, the tight-fitting, high-tech suit hugging her curves with both elegance and precision. Every movement she made was calculated, every glance sharp. Yet deep inside, Ava was a woman burdened by a past she longed to forget. The Earth was dying. She knew that, but it wasn't the planet she missed. It was the life she had once known, the love she had once given, and the heartache she had been forced to bury. Her escape wasn't just a physical one. The nebula wasn't simply a vessel for intergalactic travel. It was her refuge, her cocoon. However, the cosmos has a way of drawing even the most elusive souls into its grasp. A soft beep echoed through the ship, pulling Ava from her thoughts. "We've arrived at Lythera's orbit," the automated voice announced. Lythera, a mysterious planet on the edge of the known galaxy. It was rumored to have untapped resources, the kind that could change the course of humanity's future. But no one knew much about it. Ava's fingers hovered over the control panel, preparing to descend into the unknown. As she did, a strange sensation washed over her, an unshakable feeling of being watched. The moment her ship touched the planet's atmosphere, the air seemed to pulse with energy. The sky, an eerie shade of violet, reflected the planet's strange magnetic field, making the surroundings seem alive, as though the very land breathed with her. Ava felt a chill on the back of her neck, but it wasn't fear. It was curiosity. She had been to countless worlds, but this one was different. Her boots crunched against the alien soil as she stepped off the nebula. The air was thick and moist, carrying the scent of something floral and sweet, but with a heavy, metallic undertone. The gravity was slightly different here, enough to make her feel lighter, more agile, as though the planet itself welcomed her. That's when she saw him. Emerging from the thick mist that enveloped the ground, a tall, muscular figure appeared. His skin was a deep shade of purple, shimmering with starlight, like the very constellations had chosen to rest upon his body. His eyes glowed a soft blue, piercing through the darkened surroundings. His ears, sharp and pointed, gave him an ethereal, otherworldly appearance. His outfit, a sleek, high-tech suit designed to adapt to the harsh environments of the planet, fit his frame perfectly, accentuating his powerful, defined body. He was unlike anyone she had ever seen. His voice, when it came, was a low, resonant hum that seemed to vibrate through the very air between them. "You're not supposed to be here," he said, his words both cautionary and intrigued. "No human has ever set foot on Lythera before." Ava's heart skipped a beat, but she masked her surprise with a calculated calm. "I didn't expect company," she replied, her gaze unwavering, though her body subconsciously drew closer to him, as though magnetized by something unspoken. He stepped forward, his presence commanding yet strangely comforting. "My name is Nyx," he said. "I am the protector of this planet. And you are the first human to ever breach its borders." Ava observed him closely. His beauty was otherworldly, yet there was something more than physical allure. His strength, his power, were palpable, his body seemingly capable of feats beyond human comprehension. The energy around him pulsed, and Ava could feel it, like an electric charge building in the air. Her fingers tingled, as the proximity to him sparked something deep within her, something she hadn't felt in years. Nyx's eyes softened slightly as he caught her gaze, as though sensing her inner turmoil, yet he remained cautious. "You should turn back," he said, his voice tinged with an unreadable emotion. "There are things on this planet that can harm you, things you cannot begin to understand." But Ava, despite the danger, felt no fear. Her body, her instincts, were responding to him in ways she couldn't explain. Her pulse quickened, not just from the excitement of discovery, but from something far more intimate. She felt drawn to him not just because of his striking appearance or the sheer power emanating from him, but because of something deeper, something connected to the very core of her being. "I don't turn back," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Nyx didn't move for a moment. The tension between them was almost unbearable. She could feel the heat radiating from his body, the magnetic pull of their closeness. His scent, a mixture of fresh rain and something primal, alien, was intoxicating. She took a step closer, and he did not retreat. Instead, his gaze deepened, and for a brief second, she saw something flicker within his eyes, an emotion she couldn't quite place. It was then that Ava realized that this encounter, this meeting between the two of them, was not just a moment of discovery. It was the beginning of something much deeper, something that would change everything. Her hand, almost without thinking, reached out toward him. and for a fleeting moment, their fingers brushed. The contact was brief, but the surge of electricity that ran through her was anything but. The air on Lythera was thick with tension. Yet there was an undeniable pull between Ava and Nyx. She stood in the soft glow of the alien planet's twilight. Her heart racing, as the faint hum of the atmosphere vibrated beneath her feet. The smell of rain mingled with a heavy metallic scent. And the ground seemed to pulse with life, as if the planet itself had a heartbeat. Nyx's gaze held hers, unwavering. His eyes, glowing a soft blue, never left her face. It was as though he was searching for something within her, some hidden truth she had yet to acknowledge. The air around them felt electric, thick with anticipation. And despite herself, Ava felt a strange warmth spreading through her body. The kind of warmth that made her skin tingle, her pulse quicken, and her breath catch in her throat. "Why did you come here?" Nyx asked, his voice low and deep, resonating in her chest. There was a sense of both curiosity and caution in his tone, as though he was measuring her every word, every gesture. Ava straightened herself, feeling a surge of confidence. "I'm here to discover," she replied softly, her eyes never leaving his. "I was sent to investigate Lythera. There's a lot of resources here that Earth needs. But now that I'm here, I need to understand more about this planet. About you." Nyx studied her with a penetrating look, as if he could see through the facade she had built around herself. He took a slow step closer, his presence overwhelming yet strangely comforting. Ava's heart beat faster, and despite every instinct telling her to remain composed, she felt an undeniable pull toward him. He paused, his hand reaching out, but he stopped just short of touching her. The magnetic energy between them was palpable, the space between their bodies filled with unspoken emotions. His fingers twitched as if he were unsure whether to close the gap. Ava felt herself leaning in ever so slightly, her lips almost touching the words she longed to say, but her voice betrayed her hesitation. "What are you really?" she asked, her voice a whisper. "What are you, Nyx? Why do you feel so different?" His expression softened, as he exhaled, his chest rising and falling with the weight of an unspoken truth. "I am a protector of this world, of Lythera. My kind, we are keepers of memories. We are able to touch the minds of others, to change what has been." His voice was heavy with the burden of his words. "But you are different." Ava swallowed hard. The way he spoke sent a shiver down her spine, not from fear, but from something much deeper. His words felt like a touch, a soft caress that stirred something in her, something buried within her heart. Before she could respond, a sudden gust of wind swept through the clearing, carrying with it a peculiar scent, a scent that only deepened the sense of otherworldliness that surrounded them. The wind, charged with the energy of the planet, seemed to whisper to her, tugging at her thoughts, pulling them into strange, fleeting memories. Images flashed in her mind, quick, disjointed fragments of her past, memories of love, of loss, and of the man she had once known, the man she had tried to forget. She closed her eyes, pushing away the memories, but they lingered. The scent of rain mixed with the faint smell of something unfamiliar. Something intoxicating. Ava's breath hitched, her body responding to the unseen force. "You're afraid?" Nyx murmured, his voice barely audible against the swirling winds. He took a step closer, his breath warm against her skin. "Afraid of what you might find here, of what might be hidden in your memories." Ava's heart beat faster. She could feel his words vibrating inside her chest, like a soft pulse that seemed to resonate with her very soul. Her lips parted, but before she could speak, Nyx's hand brushed against her arm, sending a jolt of electricity through her body. His touch was light, but it held an unspoken promise. "I can help you forget," he said softly. "I can erase the pain, the memories of the past, everything that holds you back." Ava closed her eyes for a moment, fighting the rising tide of emotions. It was tempting, more tempting than anything she had ever felt before. The idea of erasing the pain, of forgetting the love and the heartbreak she had endured, was like a sweet escape. But there was something about Nyx, something about his presence, that made her hesitate. "And what about you?" Ava asked, her voice barely a whisper. "What do you want from me? Why are you so drawn to me?" Nyx's gaze softened, and for the first time, Ava saw vulnerability in his eyes. "I am drawn to your soul," he confessed. "You are not like the others I have encountered. There is something in you that calls to me, something I cannot ignore. Something I do not understand, but I cannot walk away from." Ava felt the weight of his words, and for a moment, the distance between them seemed to vanish. Her heart pounded in her chest, a mixture of excitement and fear. The connection she felt with Nyx was undeniable, but it was more than just physical. It was as if their souls were resonating, pulling them together in ways neither of them fully understood. The wind shifted again, wrapping around them, urging them closer. Ava's breath caught in her throat, as she stepped forward, her body instinctively leaning into his touch. And in that moment, the universe seemed to pause. For just a heartbeat, everything stopped. The sound of the wind faded, the pressure in the air lifted. It was just Ava and Nyx, standing together on a foreign world, locked in a gaze that spoke volumes of things left unsaid. Ava's lips parted, and Nyx leaned in, his face so close that she could feel his breath against her skin. His touch, gentle yet commanding, traced her cheek, sending a wave of warmth through her body. Her pulse quickened, and her body responded in ways she hadn't expected. She closed the gap between them, her lips finding his in a kiss that was soft at first, hesitant, but soon grew more intense. It wasn't just a kiss. It was the beginning of something deep, something powerful, something neither of them could resist. The kiss lingered. A moment suspended in time, as if the universe itself held its breath. Ava's heart raced in her chest, her body responding to Nyx in ways she couldn't fully understand. His presence was overwhelming, his touch igniting something deep within her that she hadn't felt in years. Every nerve in her body seemed to awaken, as his hand gently cupped her cheek, the warmth of his touch sending shivers down her spine. When they finally pulled apart, the silence between them was thick, filled with the weight of their emotions. Ava's breath was shallow, her pulse erratic. She looked into Nyx's eyes, and for the first time, she saw something more than the alien allure in his gaze. There was tenderness there, a longing that matched her own. "What is this?" she whispered, her voice barely audible, as if speaking too loudly would shatter the delicate bond that had just formed between them. Nyx's eyes softened, and for a brief moment, the protective barrier he had built around himself seemed to falter. He stepped back slightly, as if giving her space, but his gaze never left hers. "It's the touch of something ancient," he said softly. "The resonance of souls. A connection that goes beyond what words can describe. And it scares me." Ava felt her heart flutter at his confession. She had never expected to hear such words from him. Despite his powerful presence and mysterious nature, Nyx was vulnerable in a way that was almost human. And in that moment, she realized that she, too, was vulnerable. She had been running for so long from her own feelings, from the love she had lost. But Nyx made her feel things she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. She took a step forward, her eyes never leaving his. The air between them hummed with unspoken words, emotions too raw to be put into language. Her body, responding to the pull between them, moved closer. She reached out tentatively, her hand brushing against his arm. The contact was light, but it was enough to send a jolt of electricity through her. The intensity of it startled her, and she quickly withdrew her hand, her heart racing in her chest. But Nyx was different. He didn't pull away. Instead, he reached for her, his fingers wrapping around her wrist, gentle but firm, pulling her back toward him. This time, when their skin touched, the sensation was even more intense. Ava could feel the heat from his body radiating into hers, the energy of his being flowing through her. It was as if every touch, every breath, was amplifying their connection, making it deeper, more meaningful. "You can't run from this," Nyx murmured, his voice low and full of an emotion she couldn't quite place. "It's not just the touch of your skin. It's your soul calling to mine. You don't understand what you're doing to me." Ava's breath hitched. She could feel it too, this pull between them, stronger than any attraction she had ever known. It wasn't just physical, it was something deeper, something intangible. It was as though they had always been meant to find each other, even if the universe itself had conspired to keep them apart. But now, here they were, standing in the midst of an alien world, drawn together by something neither of them could explain. She took another step forward, her body pressed lightly against his. She felt the warmth of his chest, the hard planes of his muscles beneath his suit, and her breath caught in her throat. Everything about him was magnetic, and the more she let herself be drawn to him, the harder it became to hold back. The chemistry between them was undeniable, pulling her closer to him with each passing second. Nyx's hand cupped her face once again, his touch reverent, almost as if he were afraid to break the fragile bond that had been formed between them. His lips parted, his breath warm against her skin. "You don't have to be afraid," he whispered. "I won't hurt you. I promise." The words, though spoken softly, were enough to send a wave of emotion through Ava. She hadn't realized how much she needed to hear those words until now. She had been running from the pain of her past, afraid to trust anyone again. But here, in this alien world, with Nyx, she felt safe. She felt seen. And she couldn't deny the pull she felt toward him, the longing that surged within her. Before she could respond, Nyx's lips descended on hers once again, this time with more urgency. The kiss was different, fiercer, as if they were both surrendering to something they could no longer control. It wasn't just a kiss, it was the merging of two beings, two souls that had found each other across the stars. Ava felt a surge of heat flood her body, her mind spinning as the kiss deepened. The electricity between them sparked with each touch, each movement, until it felt as though they were both burning, consumed by the fire that had been ignited between them. She pressed herself closer to him, her hands exploring the solid muscles of his chest, feeling the warmth of his skin through the thin fabric of his suit. Her body responded to him in ways she couldn't explain, as if it were made to fit perfectly against his. The pull between them was undeniable, an attraction that went beyond the physical. It was emotional, spiritual. It was everything she had been searching for, even though she hadn't known it until now. Nyx groaned softly, his hands sliding down her back, pulling her even closer. The world around them faded into the background, the only thing that mattered was the heat of their bodies pressing together, the shared rhythm of their breath, the gentle yet insistent push and pull of desire. Ava felt every inch of him against her, the strength of his body, the power of his presence. For a brief moment, she allowed herself to let go, to feel. To finally experience what it was like to be wanted, to be seen, to be cherished. But as the kiss broke and they pulled apart, they were both left breathless, hearts racing, the intensity of the moment still lingering in the air between them. "I need to know you, Ava," Nyx whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I need to understand what you've been through, what you're running from." Ava looked up at him, her chest rising and falling with each shaky breath. She could feel the weight of his words, the depth of his need to connect, to understand. And for the first time in years, she felt like she could trust someone again. "I'll show you," she whispered. "But not just yet. I need time." Nyx nodded, his eyes softening. "I can wait. I'll be here, Ava. Whenever you're ready." Ava stood there, her body still humming with the warmth of Nyx's touch. His words echoed in her mind, as she watched him take a step back, allowing space between them. But not enough to sever the connection that had been forged in the heat of their kiss. His eyes, those piercing, glowing blue eyes, lingered on her, filled with an intensity that left her breathless. It was strange. She had never felt this way before, never allowed herself to feel so exposed, so open. The universe was vast, endless, and yet here, on this strange, alien world, she found herself drawn to him in a way that transcended any logic, any reason. "I can't stay here forever," she said softly, breaking the silence, her voice steady, though her heart was still racing. "I came here with a mission, Nyx. A mission that has nothing to do with you." Nyx didn't flinch. He only stepped closer again, his presence almost magnetic, pulling her in. "You don't need to stay," he said quietly, his voice gentle, yet carrying an undeniable weight. "But you will always be welcome here." Ava swallowed hard, her throat dry as she fought the growing urge to pull away. but the pull between them was stronger than anything she had ever felt before. She felt his words settle deep inside her chest, his gaze burning into her soul. She stepped back, putting distance between them. Her mind was racing, her thoughts a whirlwind. She had been avoiding attachment for so long, burying her past and her emotions in the cold, infinite expanse of space. The pain she carried from Earth, the love she had lost, was something she had built a wall around. But now, with NYX, that wall was crumbling. Ava took a deep breath, gathering herself. "Tell me more about your people," she said, her voice steady, though it wavered slightly. "What are you?" NYX tilted his head slightly, as though pondering her request. He exhaled slowly before speaking. "My people, the Lytherians, are guardians of memory. We are protectors of not just the physical realm, but of the intangible, the thoughts, the dreams, the very essence of existence. We can touch the minds of others, experience their memories, and even change them, if necessary." Ava felt a chill run down her spine at his words. "You can change memories?" she asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. "Why? Why would you do that?" NYX's gaze softened, and for a moment, there was a flicker of sadness in his eyes. "Sometimes, the memories we carry are too painful, too destructive. And sometimes, the only way to move forward is to erase them." Ava's heart clenched at his words. The concept of erasing memories, of removing pain, was something she had always wanted, yet something about it felt wrong. She had spent so many years running from her own past, from the heartbreak that had broken her. The idea of erasing it, of forgetting it all, was tempting. But then, she looked at NYX again, his eyes filled with both understanding and a deep sorrow. And she realized something: he wasn't just offering her a way to forget. He was offering her a chance to truly heal, a chance to confront the very pain she had spent so long trying to avoid. "And what happens after the memories are erased?" she asked, her voice softer now, more contemplative. NYX didn't answer immediately. Instead, he stepped closer to her again, his hand brushing lightly against her arm. The contact was gentle, but it sent a wave of warmth through her. "It's not just about erasing memories," he said slowly. "It's about understanding them, acknowledging them, and finding the strength to move forward without being bound by them. That's the real power. That's what we can offer." Ava closed her eyes, trying to process his words. It was hard to imagine letting go of the pain that had defined her for so long. The heartbreak of losing the person she had loved most. The devastation of watching Earth deteriorate, knowing she couldn't stop it. But the idea of releasing that burden, of finding peace in a world so far removed from everything she had known, was enticing. She opened her eyes, meeting NYX's gaze again. "And you," she whispered. "What do you need to let go of?" For the first time since they had met, NYX hesitated. There was a flicker of something in his eyes, a vulnerability that he had not shown before. It was fleeting, but it was there. He took a deep breath, and stepped away, his gaze lowering to the ground. "I have no past," he said softly. "My memories are not my own. They were given to me by my people, by the Lytherians. I carry the memories of countless lives, countless souls, and yet I have none of my own. I am bound by them, but I am also free. Ava's heart ached for him. She had thought she was the only one burdened by the weight of her past. But Nyx carried something much heavier, something that consumed him in ways she couldn't understand. "But you're not free, are you?" she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Nyx met her gaze again, his eyes searching hers, as though he were reading something within her. "No, I'm not. Not yet." There was a long silence between them, the weight of their shared understanding hanging in the air. Ava could feel the tension building once more, but this time, it wasn't just physical. It was emotional, a pull that neither of them could escape. "I don't know if I'm ready for this," Ava admitted, her voice shaky, as she took a step back, the weight of their connection almost too much to bear. "To let go. To be with you." Nyx's expression softened, and for the first time, Ava saw a glimmer of something more than just the protector of Lythera. She saw the man alone, searching for meaning, for connection, just like her. "You don't have to be ready, Ava," he said softly. "But when you are, I'll be here. I won't rush you. You are not alone anymore." Ava nodded, her throat tight. She didn't have the answers. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel so lost. The connection she had with Nyx, whether she fully understood it or not, was real. It was something she couldn't deny, something that had begun to heal the wounds she had hidden for so long. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Nyx didn't say anything more. He simply reached out, his hand brushing against hers in a silent gesture of support. It was gentle, reassuring, as though he was telling her that no matter what happened, he would be there. As they stood there, under the strange, glowing sky of Lythera, Ava felt a sense of peace settle over her. The journey ahead would not be easy, but with Nyx by her side, perhaps, just perhaps, she could begin to heal the scars that had defined her for so long. The sun began to set over Lythera, casting a warm, violet glow across the strange alien landscape. Ava and Nyx stood silently, side by side. As the sky above them shifted, swirling with colors unlike anything she had ever seen before, the air hummed with an almost tangible energy, a reminder that this world was alive, in a way Earth could never be. Ava couldn't help but marvel at the beauty of it, yet at the same time, she felt the weight of everything: her mission, her past, and the growing connection between her and Nyx. She turned her gaze to him, standing there beside her, his sharp features illuminated by the soft glow of the planet's strange sky. His presence was both grounding and overwhelming, like a force of nature she couldn't quite comprehend. "This place is incredible," Ava whispered, breaking the silence, her voice filled with awe. "But there's something else, isn't there? Something beneath the surface." Nyx's eyes flickered toward her, and for a moment, she saw the flicker of something ancient, something deep within him. He nodded slowly, his gaze far away, as though he was lost in a memory only he could recall. "Lythera is more than just a planet," he said, his voice low, as though the very words he spoke carried weight. "It is a living entity. We Lytherians, we are connected to the land, to the air, to the stars. The planet itself has a soul, and it speaks to us. It whispers to us in ways that no human could ever understand. It gives us guidance, and sometimes, it warns us. Ava looked at him, intrigued but confused. Warns you? What do you mean? Nyx didn't answer right away. He simply turned his gaze to the horizon, his eyes narrowing slightly, as if he were listening for something just beyond the range of her perception. The wind stirred again, and Ava could swear she felt a shift in the atmosphere, as though the planet itself was alive, watching them. The planet knows of your kind, Nyx finally said, his voice heavy with meaning. It knows of humans, and the pain they carry. And it also knows of your arrival. Lythera is a place of healing, but it is not without its dangers. The energy here is powerful, but it can be overwhelming to those who are not ready for it. Ava stepped closer, her curiosity piqued. And you think I'm not ready? She asked, her voice tinged with a mixture of defiance and apprehension. Nyx looked at her, his eyes softening. No, Ava. It's not that you're not ready. But your journey here, it's only just beginning. Ava felt a twinge of unease. She had come to Lythera seeking answers, seeking a way to heal the parts of herself she had buried deep within, but now, with every word Nyx spoke, she felt the weight of an unknown future pressing down on her. She had never imagined that a simple mission could lead to so much more. What do you mean? She asked, her voice trembling slightly, betraying the vulnerability she was feeling. Nyx stepped closer, his presence enveloping her like a warm breeze. There is a force here, Ava. One that is more ancient than even my people. It has a way of drawing in those who are lost, those who are seeking something. It can offer you peace, but it can also take everything from you if you're not careful. Ava's heart skipped a beat, and for the first time, she felt the full weight of his words. And you think that force is after me? Nyx shook his head slowly, his gaze unwavering. It's not about what the force wants. It's about what you want, Ava. What you are willing to face. The tension between them thickened. There was something in the air, something that seemed to bind them together, pushing them toward an inevitable outcome. Ava felt it deep in her bones, a connection to the planet itself and to Nyx, something both terrifying and exhilarating. What am I supposed to do? Ava asked, her voice barely a whisper. I'm just one person. What can I do against something like this? Nyx's expression softened, and for a moment, there was a tenderness in his eyes that took her by surprise. You've already done more than you think. You've come this far, Ava. And you're not alone. Not anymore. Her chest tightened at his words. She had been alone for so long, so lost in the pain of her past, in the fear of what she had left behind on Earth, that the thought of not being alone was almost too much to bear. She felt a lump form in her throat, but she refused to let it overwhelm her. Instead, she turned her gaze back to the horizon, where the darkening sky seemed to stretch endlessly above them. There was so much more to this planet, to her journey, than she had ever imagined. The weight of the unknown pressed on her, but at the same time, she felt a spark of something, hope, maybe deep within her. I want to know more, Ava said, her voice steady now, filled with determination. I want to understand what this planet is trying to tell me. And I want to face whatever comes next. Nyx smiled softly, a faint trace of pride in his expression. Then you're ready, he said simply. Let's begin. As he spoke, the wind shifted again, stronger this time, swirling around them, carrying with it the whispers of Lythera, the planet's voice, reaching out to Ava, guiding her, pulling her closer to the unknown. But this time, she didn't pull away. She didn't retreat. For the first time in a long time, she was ready to face the truth, whatever it might be. And, perhaps, to face the truth of what lay between her and Nyx. The days that followed seemed to blur together. As if time itself had surrendered to the rhythm of Lythera's strange pulse. Ava and Nyx spent hours exploring the alien landscape, though it was more than just the planet they were discovering. They were uncovering each other's hidden depths, and with each passing moment, their connection grew stronger, more undeniable. Ava had come to Lythera seeking knowledge, but what she found in the alien world was more than she could have ever anticipated. The force that Nyx had warned her about, the one that lived beneath the surface of the planet, was not something she could touch directly. But its presence was unmistakable. It made her senses heighten, made her heart race, and made her skin prickle with anticipation. And all the while, Nyx was by her side, his quiet presence both comforting and exhilarating. He was still an enigma, distant at times, reserved in a way that spoke of an ancient soul burdened by countless memories. But in those moments when their eyes met, when their hands brushed, Ava could see the flicker of something beneath his cool exterior. It wasn't just attraction. It was something deeper, something tied to the very fabric of who they both were. One evening, as the twin moons of Lythera cast their soft glow over the land, Nyx led Ava to a secluded part of the planet. A tranquil oasis surrounded by bioluminescent trees that shimmered in the night. The air here was warmer, tinged with a scent that was both floral and earthy, soothing to the senses. Nyx had said little during their walk. His gaze distant, as though lost in thought, but Ava didn't mind. She had learned to appreciate his silence as much as his words. There was an unspoken understanding between them, a connection that needed no explanation. They arrived at a natural clearing, the grass beneath their feet soft and yielding, and for the first time, Ava felt a true sense of peace here, something she had not felt in years. She turned to Nyx, her heart beating a little faster, as if it recognized something even she didn't fully understand. "Why did you bring me here?" she asked, her voice soft, but there was an edge of curiosity, of something deeper. She could feel his gaze on her, the weight of it pulling her in, but this time, she didn't look away. Nyx stepped closer, his eyes searching hers, and there was an intensity in his expression that took her breath away. "This place is sacred to my people," he said quietly, his voice low but rich with meaning. "It's where we connect with the heart of Lythera. The planet speaks here. It shares its memories, its wisdom, with those who are willing to listen." Ava felt a shiver run down her spine at his words, but she didn't pull away. There was something in the air, something in the way he spoke that made her feel both vulnerable and alive. She took a step toward him, her breath catching as their proximity closed the distance between them. "You're not just a protector of this planet, are you?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. As if the question itself might break the fragile bond they had formed. "You're connected to it? In a way I can't even begin to understand." Nyx's gaze softened, his eyes darkening as he took another step closer, his hand hovering just above hers. The distance between them was so small now, that she could feel the heat of his body, the electricity in the air pulling them together like magnets. The tension was thick, undeniable. "We are one," he said softly, the words carrying an ancient truth. "Lythera and I share a bond. It is my duty to protect, but it is also my gift. I can feel the pulse of the planet in my veins. I carry its memories, its desires. It speaks to me, and I to it." Ava's heart beat faster at his words, the connection between them deepening. It wasn't just his physical presence that she was drawn to, it was something more, something intangible. She could feel it in the air between them, in the way he moved, the way his eyes met hers. There was a magnetic force, something primal, that made her body respond to him in ways she couldn't explain. As Nyx's hand finally brushed against hers, a spark of electricity shot through her, making her skin tingle with the sensation. She inhaled sharply, the touch sending a rush of warmth flooding through her body. Her heart was pounding in her chest, her body almost reacting on its own, drawn to him in a way that both thrilled and terrified her. "Ava," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. He gently cupped her chin, tilting her face upward to meet his gaze. The intensity of his eyes made her stomach flutter. "You don't have to be afraid of this. Of me. I will not hurt you." Ava swallowed hard, her voice thick with emotion as she met his gaze. "I'm not afraid of you, Nyx. I'm afraid of what this means. What this connection means." Nyx's thumb gently traced her jawline, his touch tender, as if he were reassuring her without words. "It means nothing and everything," he whispered, his forehead resting lightly against hers. "It means we are not alone. It means we have found each other at the right moment. And for once, the universe has given us a chance." Ava's chest tightened as she closed her eyes, feeling his presence envelop her. She could feel the weight of his words, the sincerity in them. In that moment, she knew that this was something more than just attraction. It was fate. It was something deeper than she could understand, and it was terrifying. But it was also beautiful. Her breath hitched as Nyx's lips found hers again. It was a slow, lingering kiss, soft at first, as if they were both testing the waters, unsure of how much to give. But Ava's body responded instinctively, pulling him closer, deepening the kiss as the electric tension between them flared into something undeniable. This kiss was different from the first. It wasn't just physical attraction anymore. It was the merging of two souls, two beings from entirely different worlds, yet somehow, they fit together like they were always meant to be. Nyx's hand slid to her back, pulling her closer, his body pressed firmly against hers, and Ava felt the intensity of their connection intensify with every second that passed. Her heart raced, her body alive with sensation as she melted into him. There was no turning back now. They were here, together, in this moment, and nothing else mattered. As the kiss deepened, Ava felt her body respond to him with an urgency she hadn't anticipated. Every inch of her skin was alive, tingling with the intensity of his touch. She didn't know what this was, but she couldn't fight it. It was like a pull she couldn't resist, a force stronger than anything she had ever experienced. And for the first time in a long while, Ava let herself surrender to it. To him. The kiss lingered. A profound silence settling over them. Ava could feel her body trembling slightly, her heart pounding in her chest as she slowly pulled away, her breath shallow and uneven. Nyx's eyes were closed for a moment, his forehead resting against hers, and when he finally opened them, the intensity in his gaze was like nothing she had ever experienced. There was a deep, almost primal connection between them, and it resonated far beyond just the physical. Ava could feel it in her soul, in every fiber of her being. She had come to Lythera seeking something, perhaps answers, perhaps escape from the weight of her own past. But now, she realized, she had found something even more significant. She had found him. "What is this?" she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. She didn't know what she was asking, whether it was about the kiss, about the force between them, or about everything that had brought them here. Nyx lifted his head slightly, his hand still resting gently against her back. He was looking at her with a mixture of tenderness and something deeper, something that both terrified and captivated her. "It's the resonance," he said softly. "When two souls find each other, when they connect, they resonate. They vibrate in harmony with the universe. It's not just physical. It's a deep, spiritual bond." Ava's chest tightened at his words. She could feel it too, the pull between them, the connection that wasn't just of this world. She had always been a skeptic, a woman who believed in logic and reason. But with Nyx, with this planet, logic seemed to fade into the background. The truth, the raw intensity of the connection they shared, was undeniable. "I don't understand," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper, but the words were filled with the longing she had kept hidden for so long. "Why me? Why now?" Nyx's eyes softened, and for the first time, he let his guard down completely. "I don't have all the answers, Ava," he said quietly. "But I know that this, what we have, is not by chance. Lythera chose you. It's why you're here. It's why you found me." Ava felt a chill run through her, the weight of his words settling on her like a shroud. The planet had chosen her? She had come here thinking she was simply fulfilling a mission, but now it seemed that Lythera, this alien world, had a greater purpose for her than she could have ever imagined. Her heart raced, and 1,000 questions flooded her mind. Was she ready for this? Ready to be part of something so much bigger than herself? The pull she felt toward Nyx, the bond that had formed so quickly, was powerful, but it was also terrifying. She had buried her emotions for so long, running from the past, refusing to let herself be vulnerable. And now, here she was, standing on an alien world, drawn to a man, a being, who made her feel everything she had been afraid to face. Nyx's hand gently cupped her cheek, bringing her back to the present moment. "You don't have to understand it all right now," he said softly, his voice full of reassurance. You don't have to be afraid. I'll be here, Ava. Whenever you're ready. The tenderness in his voice, the warmth of his touch, melted the last of her defenses. She closed her eyes, allowing herself to lean into his hand, letting the connection between them deepen. For the first time in years, she felt a sense of peace, a sense of belonging. She didn't have all the answers. But for the first time, she didn't need to. I'm ready, Ava whispered, her voice steady, filled with a quiet certainty she had never felt before. Ready to face whatever this is. With you. Nyx's expression softened, and a small, knowing smile played at the corners of his lips. He leaned in, brushing his lips against her forehead in a tender, almost reverent gesture. The feeling of his touch against her skin sent a shiver through her, but this time, it was a shiver of something warm, something comforting. Then let's begin, he whispered, his voice full of promise. As he pulled her closer, the world around them seemed to fade. The bioluminescent trees, the soft hum of Lythera's atmosphere, the distant stars, all of it faded into the background. It was just them, here, in this moment, bound together by something neither of them could truly understand, but both could feel with every inch of their being. They stood there for a long moment, their bodies close, their hearts beating in sync with the rhythm of the planet. Nyx's hand slid down her back, pulling her closer, and Ava's breath caught in her throat as she felt the heat of his body against hers. She could feel the strength in his frame, the solidness of his muscles, but there was something else there too, a tenderness that was unexpected but welcomed. The air around them thickened, charged with the energy of their connection. Ava's fingers traced the outline of his jaw, marveling at the softness of his skin, the sharpness of his features, the way his face was both alien and familiar at the same time. She had never been this close to anyone before, not in this way. But with Nyx, there was no fear. Just an overwhelming sense of knowing, of belonging. I want to understand you, Nyx, she whispered, her voice full of yearning. All of you. Nyx's gaze softened as he held her, his hands gently cupping her face. You already do, Ava, he said quietly. You understand me in ways I never thought anyone could. The intensity of the moment deepened, and for the first time, Ava felt the weight of her past slip away. The hurt, the loneliness, the fear, all of it seemed insignificant in the presence of this alien man, this protector of Lythera, whose soul resonated with hers in ways she couldn't fully comprehend. As their lips met once more, it was no longer just a kiss. It was the culmination of everything they had both been searching for, the connection of two beings from different worlds, finding solace in each other's presence. Their bodies moved together in perfect harmony, their souls intertwined, and for the first time in a long time, Ava felt whole. The days that followed were a blur of new experiences and intimate discoveries. Ava had never imagined that a mission to an uncharted planet would lead her down a path that defied every rule she had ever set for herself. But there was something about Nyx, something about the way he made her feel alive, seen, and understood that made her question everything she thought she knew. Lythera, with its alien beauty and energy, had woven its way into her soul, but it was Nyx who had truly awakened her. The connection between them had deepened with each passing moment. Every glance, every touch, every shared breath, felt like the universe itself was urging them towards something bigger, something that transcended space, time, and reason. Ava stood on the edge of a small cliff that overlooked a glowing river, its waters shimmering with a soft, iridescent light. The air was cooler here, the breeze gentle, but laced with the strange, intoxicating scent of the alien flora. She closed her eyes, and breathed in, letting the sensation of Lythera wash over her. The soft hum of the planet filled the silence, and for a brief moment, she felt at peace, as though she had found her place in the universe. But then, she heard the faint sound of footsteps behind her. Nyx. Without turning, Ava knew he was there. She could feel his presence like a force, his energy radiating even from a distance. She had grown used to it, this constant pull, this undeniable connection that always seemed to draw her toward him. It was as if he was the gravitational center of her world now, and she was helplessly caught in his orbit. Nyx approached her quietly, his footsteps soft on the alien ground. When he reached her side, he didn't say a word. He simply stood there, looking out at the river with her, sharing the quiet moment. Ava could feel the warmth of his body next to hers, the heat that seemed to seep into her very bones. It was comforting, and yet, it was also electrifying. The way his presence made her body hum with anticipation. "You've been distant," Nyx said finally, his voice soft but steady. "Not with me, but with yourself. You're still running from something, Ava." Ava tensed at his words, but she didn't pull away. She had known this moment was coming. She had known that eventually, the walls she had built around her heart would crumble, and Nyx would see the truth of her past. The truth she had spent so many years trying to forget. She turned to him, her expression guarded. "I'm not running," she replied, though her voice lacked the conviction she had hoped for. "I'm just figuring things out." Nyx didn't push her. Instead, he reached out, his hand brushing gently against her arm, sending a familiar wave of electricity through her body. The touch was light, but it carried a deep understanding, an unspoken invitation to share, to open up. "You don't have to figure it out alone," Nyx said quietly. "You're not the only one carrying pain, Ava. I know what it's like to be burdened by a past you can't escape." Ava's breath hitched at his words. He understood. There was no judgment in his eyes, only the quiet recognition of shared pain, of a weight they both carried in different ways. For the first time since she had arrived on Lythera, Ava felt the walls she had carefully constructed around her heart begin to crack. Slowly, cautiously, she turned to face him fully. "I didn't ask for this," she said, her voice trembling. "I didn't ask to be here, or to feel this connection with you." Her words were laced with frustration, with fear. "But I can't deny it. I can't deny how you make me feel." Nyx's expression softened. His hand reached up, gently cupping her cheek, his thumb brushing over her skin in a tender, soothing motion. "You don't need to deny it, Ava. You never have to deny what you feel. This connection, it's real. It's not something to be afraid of." Her eyes searched his, looking for answers she wasn't sure she could find, but there was something in the depths of his gaze that spoke to her. Something that made her feel seen, understood, and most of all, safe. For the first time, she wasn't just a woman lost in the vastness of space. She was a woman with purpose, with connection, with meaning. "I've been running from my past," Ava admitted softly, her voice barely more than a whisper. "From the love I lost, from the pain of watching Earth fall apart. I thought if I just buried it all, I could move forward. But now I don't know what to do with all of it." Nyx stepped closer, his body warm against hers, and for a moment, she felt as though the world around them had ceased to exist. It was just the two of them, bound together by something far stronger than either of them could comprehend. "You don't have to run anymore," he said, his voice a low rumble in her ear. "Not from your past, not from me. I won't let you." Ava's breath caught in her throat, and for the first time, she let herself truly feel the weight of his words. There was no hesitation in his touch, no doubt in his eyes. Nyx was offering her more than just his presence. He was offering her his understanding, his heart, and perhaps more than that, he was offering her the chance to heal. Ava's body responded to him in ways that surprised her. She felt the pull toward him, the warmth, the undeniable chemistry that crackled in the air between them. She was no longer running. She was standing still, letting herself feel. For the first time, she wasn't afraid to be vulnerable. Her hand found his, their fingers intertwining, and in that moment, something shifted between them. Ava could feel it, a deep resonance, a soft hum, like the planet itself had wrapped them in its embrace, urging them forward. Without a word, Nyx leaned down, his lips finding hers in a kiss that was soft but full of meaning. It wasn't just desire, it was a promise. A promise that they would face the challenges ahead, not as strangers, not as two beings from different worlds, but as two souls that had found each other in the vastness of the universe. The kiss deepened, slow and deliberate, as if they were both savoring the moment. It wasn't just a crossing of boundaries, it was the beginning of something profound, something that would change them both forever. Ava knew, in that moment, that she wasn't alone. She wasn't running anymore. She had found her place, her connection, her future. And it was with Nyx. The days that followed felt like a slow unfolding of what was hidden, both within Lythera, and within themselves. Ava had always considered herself a woman of action, someone who dealt with the world with her mind, her intellect, and her focus. She had never been one to surrender to her emotions, not fully. But with Nyx by her side, everything had changed. Every step she took on this alien world, every touch, every word spoken between them, was slowly unraveling the layers of her heart, that had been tightly bound for so long. The bond between them had grown stronger, since that first kiss, deepening beyond the physical attraction they had both felt. It was more than just chemistry, more than just desire. There was an undeniable force pulling them together, as if the universe itself had aligned to make this moment happen. Ava no longer questioned why it was happening. She no longer feared the pull. She let it guide her. But the journey was not without its struggles. Lythera, with its beauty and mysteries, was still a dangerous place. It spoke to Ava, not just through Nyx, but in the quiet moments when she found herself alone, surrounded by its glowing, eerie landscape. The planet whispered to her, sometimes gently, sometimes forcefully, reminding her that this world was not just a haven. It was a crucible. And in this crucible, she would have to confront the ghosts of her past. One evening, Ava stood on the edge of a cliff, staring out at the glowing river below. The water shimmered with an otherworldly light, casting long shadows across the land. The night air was thick with the sweet scent of the alien flowers, and the sky above was filled with the vastness of the stars. It was beautiful, but there was a heaviness in the air, an energy that Ava had come to recognize. The same energy she had felt from the first moment she stepped foot on Lythera. The planet was alive, and it was aware of her presence. It knew her. A soft sound behind her made her turn, and there stood Nyx, his figure tall and imposing against the glow of the river. His eyes, glowing faintly, locked onto hers. There was a moment of silence before he spoke, his voice gentle yet laden with something more profound. "You're thinking about Earth, aren't you?" Nyx asked, his gaze searching her face. Ava hesitated, her eyes drifting to the horizon. The memories of Earth, of her home, of the life she had lost, were never far from her mind. She had tried to bury them, to focus on the mission, on the connection between her and Nyx. But the past had a way of clawing its way back to the surface. "I'm thinking about everything," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "About what I left behind. About the person I used to be. And about what all of this means. You, me. Lythera, it's like I've stepped into a different world, and I don't know if I can go back to the one I left behind." Nyx stepped closer, his presence overwhelming, yet calming. He didn't need to say anything more. His hand reached out, gently cupping her chin, and for a moment, Ava allowed herself to be guided by him. She closed her eyes, breathing in the air around them, the scent of the planet and the warmth of his touch grounding her. "You don't have to go back," Nyx said softly. "What you left behind doesn't define you. What you are becoming, what we are becoming together, that is what matters. The past doesn't have to control you." Ava's heart tightened at his words, and for the first time, she let herself feel the weight of everything she had been running from. The heartbreak of losing her love on Earth, the loss of the life she had known, the weight of knowing that the planet she had called home was slipping away. It had all been so heavy, so suffocating, that she had buried it deep within her, telling herself she didn't need to face it. But now, with Nyx, with Lythera, something was different. She didn't need to hide from her past anymore. She didn't need to carry it alone. Her voice was steady, but it cracked with emotion. "I thought if I just kept running, kept moving forward, I'd leave it all behind. But I can't escape it. I can't escape who I was, who I loved, what I lost." Nyx's thumb gently traced her cheek, his touch tender, as though he was soothing not just her skin but the ache in her heart. "You don't have to escape it, Ava. You have to embrace it. All of it. The love, the loss, the pain. It's part of who you are. But it doesn't have to define you. Let it change you, let it teach you, but don't let it hold you captive. For the first time in years, Ava felt tears welling up in her eyes. She hadn't cried since she had left Earth, since she had buried her emotions beneath the weight of her responsibilities. But Nyx's words, his understanding, broke through the walls she had so carefully constructed. Ava let the tears fall, not in sorrow, but in release. She didn't have to be strong all the time. She didn't have to carry the weight of the world on her shoulders alone. Nyx pulled her into his arms, holding her close as she cried. His touch was gentle, but firm, offering her comfort without words. His warmth surrounded her, and for the first time, she didn't feel alone. She didn't feel like she had to carry the burden of the past anymore. She had Nyx. She had Lythera. And for once, she had a future she could look toward. When the tears subsided, Nyx pulled back slightly, his eyes searching hers. "You've changed already, Ava. You're no longer running. You're facing your past. And that's the first step to becoming who you were meant to be." Ava nodded, her chest still tight, but the weight of her past no longer felt unbearable. She didn't know what the future held, whether she and Nyx would be able to stay together, whether Lythera's mysteries would ever truly reveal themselves. But for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid. The connection they shared, the bond that had grown between them, was more than just a love between two beings from different worlds. It was a force of healing, of transformation. And whatever came next, Ava knew one thing for sure: she wouldn't face it alone. The days that followed felt like a slow unfolding of what was hidden, both within Lythera, and within themselves. Ava had always considered herself a woman of action, someone who dealt with the world with her mind, her intellect, and her focus. She had never been one to surrender to her emotions, not fully. But with Nyx by her side, everything had changed. Every step she took on this alien world, every touch, every word spoken between them, was slowly unraveling the layers of her heart, that had been tightly bound for so long. The bond between them had grown stronger since that first kiss, deepening beyond the physical attraction they had both felt. It was more than just chemistry, more than just desire. There was an undeniable force pulling them together, as if the universe itself had aligned to make this moment happen. Ava no longer questioned why it was happening. She no longer feared the pull. She let it guide her. But the journey was not without its struggles. Lythera, with its beauty and mysteries, was still a dangerous place. It spoke to Ava, not just through Nyx, but in the quiet moments when she found herself alone, surrounded by its glowing, eerie landscape. The planet whispered to her, sometimes gently, sometimes forcefully, reminding her that this world was not just a haven. It was a crucible. And in this crucible, she would have to confront the ghosts of her past. One evening, Ava stood on the edge of a cliff, staring out at the glowing river below. The water shimmered with an otherworldly light, casting long shadows across the land. The night air was thick with the sweet scent of the alien flowers, and the sky above was filled with the vastness of the stars. It was beautiful, but there was a heaviness in the air, an energy that Ava had come to recognize. The same energy she had felt from the first moment she stepped foot on Lythera. The planet was alive, and it was aware of her presence. It knew her. A soft sound behind her made her turn, and there stood Nyx, his figure tall and imposing against the glow of the river. His eyes, glowing faintly, locked onto hers. There was a moment of silence before he spoke, his voice gentle yet laden with something more profound. "You're thinking about Earth, aren't you?" Nyx asked, his gaze searching her face. Ava hesitated, her eyes drifting to the horizon. The memories of Earth, of her home, of the life she had lost, were never far from her mind. She had tried to bury them, to focus on the mission, on the connection between her and Nyx. But the past had a way of clawing its way back to the surface. "I'm thinking about everything," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "About what I left behind. About the person I used to be. And about what all of this means. You, me. Lythera, it's like I've stepped into a different world, and I don't know if I can go back to the one I left behind." Nyx stepped closer, his presence overwhelming, yet calming. He didn't need to say anything more. His hand reached out, gently cupping her chin, and for a moment, Ava allowed herself to be guided by him. She closed her eyes, breathing in the air around them, the scent of the planet and the warmth of his touch grounding her. "You don't have to go back," Nyx said softly. "What you left behind doesn't define you. What you are becoming, what we are becoming together, that is what matters. The past doesn't have to control you." Ava's heart tightened at his words, and for the first time, she let herself feel the weight of everything she had been running from. The heartbreak of losing her love on Earth, the loss of the life she had known, the weight of knowing that the planet she had called home was slipping away. It had all been so heavy, so suffocating, that she had buried it deep within her, telling herself she didn't need to face it. But now, with Nyx, with Lythera, something was different. She didn't need to hide from her past anymore. She didn't need to carry it alone. Her voice was steady, but it cracked with emotion. "I thought if I just kept running, kept moving forward, I'd leave it all behind. But I can't escape it. I can't escape who I was, who I loved, what I lost." Nyx's thumb gently traced her cheek, his touch tender, as though he was soothing not just her skin but the ache in her heart. "You don't have to escape it, Ava. You have to embrace it. All of it. The love, the loss, the pain. It's part of who you are. But it doesn't have to define you. Let it change you, let it teach you, but don't let it hold you captive." For the first time in years, Ava felt tears welling up in her eyes. She hadn't cried since she had left Earth, since she had buried her emotions beneath the weight of her responsibilities. But Nyx's words, his understanding, broke through the walls she had so carefully constructed. Ava let the tears fall, not in sorrow, but in release. She didn't have to be strong all the time. She didn't have to carry the weight of the world on her shoulders alone. Nyx pulled her into his arms, holding her close as she cried. His touch was gentle, but firm, offering her comfort without words. His warmth surrounded her, and for the first time, she didn't feel alone. She didn't feel like she had to carry the burden of the past anymore. She had Nyx. She had Lythera. And for once, she had a future she could look toward. When the tears subsided, Nyx pulled back slightly, his eyes searching hers. "You've changed already, Ava. You're no longer running. You're facing your past. And that's the first step to becoming who you were meant to be." Ava nodded, her chest still tight, but the weight of her past no longer felt unbearable. She didn't know what the future held, whether she and Nyx would be able to stay together, whether Lythera's mysteries would ever truly reveal themselves. But for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid.